band in Trinidad.
Yo!
Yeah. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it!
Hey, bad boy.
You know we crazy. Hey,
This is Burdie.
on the radio.
This
Tell
is
me why
Barney.
you're here.
This is the Burdie and Barney Show. And again today we have a special guest. Is it specially second time around?
It's special anytime with him.
Former
What kind of question is that?
former World Cup 2006 player, ESPN analyst, former Players Association head, which is one of the reasons why he's on tonight.
The only reason why he's
Okay.
on tonight.
Shaka Hislop. Good night, Shaka.
Good night, Lasana. Good night, Wayne.
Ooh, I reached
know
a
the
weird
Bali
status,
government
don't
name.
I? Somebody upset
the
me.
government name because second time around, I had to be more official.
Somebody upset, boy.
Hey, cut
Wayne.
his mic.
You man call me Wayne. I never hear that man call me Wayne in my life.
And who we do not have in here is any outside woman. I just want to make that clear.
Wayne.
I want to make that clear. You get a lot of requests. People want to hear more about the outside woman, but
Who signed up for the script?
I'm pretty sure none of us would have got permission for this podcast if the outside woman was in the room.
I just here for the football. I don't know what they're talking about. I here for the football.
We had hoped to have Jefferson George here from the Coaches Association. He had to do some Coaches Association stuff. That was the explanation, Barney.
Jefferson is currently engaged with putting together the coaching the
Coaches Association stuff.
No. It's the seminars that we have coming up with the Dutch FA. So he's liaising with them this evening. Remember, he had work to do with them to put together something, so he couldn't be available today.
Okay.
That's all.
Almost a straight face there. And we had hoped to have maybe Cornell Glenn or so from the do I say wannabe Players Association? Well, they're trying to get something going. They're trying to take up the mantle. Cornell couldn't be here either. Cornell has been a little bit quiet. It hasn't been an easy time, I would say, for players and apparently past players either. In football these days. So instead, we have Barney and Shaka, essentially.
As I'm about to say, I get food down the pecking order the longer the show go on, mate.
No, but
You're in the top 100, Shaka.
no, but here, listen. I kind of lost. That's why I'm here today. I thought I always used to be.
The outside woman almost took your chair.
Big man, I find you're fixated on this thing now.
I am.
Yeah, I stayed out of that, yeah.
Let me say, unequivocally, I am not fixated. Miss Luan asked me, who is the outside woman? I say, I don't know her name. I never spoke to her. So let me say on the record here. No, I'm not fixated with any outside woman, and I'm relatively happy to have Barney on the other side of the table.
Shaka, I following you. I like your silence.
So it's getting more and more like a confession, mate.
I don't know. I don't even want to look at the man right now. I'm looking at the wall.
Let's go to safer territory, which could be the KGB, CIA, anything. But we're speaking about local football this week. And is this news? The coaches are not paid, and the players think they're being mistreated. How's that? Does that fit the definition of news in Trinidad and Tobago? Barney?
That sounds like something that's par for the course. Mm-hmm. That going on since I was under 14.
Shaka, imagine now players think back about the good old days when guys like you all were playing and we were getting actually paid well and I suppose getting Gatorade at sessions and things. I don't know. What do you think about that? You know, our football is at a level now where 20 years ago was considered to be, great times as far as relationships with the TTFA.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that a World Cup berth and all the experiences that were gained from not just the campaign, not just playing in Germany, but putting together a successful program, you would think we would have taken on board and we would have built on from there. But as you say, some 15 years later from that, I'm not sure our football has been in as bad a place as it is right now.
When you say as bad a place, I'm listening. Because when I start, I didn't feel I was stopping, so I listening to you to give some context. When you say as bad a place, everybody, you and I talk, and we consider how dire things are now. But John Public silent. The leadership of football right now is walking around patting themselves on the back. So how dire is it? How bad is it, Shaka?
Barney giving it some rope there, Shaka. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, what is the measure of success in our football today? Is it in our FIFA World Ranking? I don't think it's been much lower. Is it in the quality of the football that we've seen on the field? Okay, admittedly, we've not seen an awful lot in the last 18 months. We've just had most recently the two World Cup qualifiers. I'm not putting any stock at all into the US game and what that was. We have Barney, you would know better than me, but players who are coaches who are largely dissatisfied with a lot of things that are going on in the game. If rumors to be believed, the players are also dissatisfied with a lot that's going on in the game. We have a football body that largely is underpaid, underinformed in terms of there being no communication from the football administrators. And as of right now, I think I'm right in saying the only people who are paid, certainly with any consistency in our game, is the Normalisation Committee, an unelected body that was imposed, and everybody listening, I'm sure, knows my opinion of that. But the only people being paid in Trinidad and Tobago football is an unelected body that FIFA chose to lead our game, and I use lead kind of loosely there because I'm not sure the direction that it's heading in, given some of the factors that I just described.
Mm-hmm. Of course, and actually, Shaka as well. You were one of the people involved in our constitution back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now we're at a position now, I think under John Williams, there was something like 4 standing committees in operation, probably less, out of a possible 15. Right now we have 1, the Referees Association. That's it. When you all were putting together this document, the Constitution, if you could explain to our listeners the value of these standing committees and what it means that people who have no football background whatsoever are running the TTFA with no committees at all.
Yeah, well, when we were putting together the Constitution and certainly making drafts around committees, the intention was to give all our stakeholders in the game a voice in how the game was run, and well, that primarily is the recognized bodies within the TTFA, making sure everybody has a voice, and you have to have standing committees because you wanted a wealth of opinion. You needed diverse opinions from people both within the game and outside of the game. You have to have that balance of football and business and just balancing the books and making sure that the administration was in keeping with the times. But I guess that constitution, like every other, I'll go so far as to say, is something that evolves over time, and you have to expect that. Just kind of give them challenges, give them how things maybe change. So to have it kind of regress, I think the way that it was, the way the loopholes were abused, I thought the Constitution as a functioning part of a football association, it regressed in terms of what it was meant to do in terms of serving our game. You know, technical committees is part of being football, finance. I'm struggling to remember all the other committees as we that were called for at the moment. But you know, just in dealing with the day-to-day business of any business, not just football business. You know, marketing, be it finance. You know,
the disciplinary, which might have been useful a few weeks ago, for instance.
Absolutely, yeah. So I again, all these things just to kind of serve the football and the business side of the game.
Pray tell, useful for what scenario? We had anything going on out of the ordinary?
A certain coach got a flashback. He thought Diego was running to his goal or something. And it got a little dicey.
But Shaka, picking up on what you said. So basically, under John Williams, we had a number of committees sidelined via loopholes used by John Williams to circumvent them. And now what we've seen is that we have no committees.
Total disregard.
Committees are not being used. We have 4 persons.
In fact, you can't even count the referees committee because the word from Hadad is, as far as he's concerned, there are no committees until he says so.
I wasn't counting them.
So
that's what I said. Nobody, no committees. And you have 4 persons running football with no experience or expertise in the game.
Let me ask this in response to that. The normalization committee have to recognize or abide by our constitution, by the football constitution at all?
They do according to FIFA, because FIFA never said that the constitution has been suspended, and FIFA gave a very specific mandate, and they repeated it about 3 or 4 times. And it doesn't say anything about, all the normalization committee does is replace the board. That's it. So the powers of the board, they have. And that's essentially it. Everything else supposed to operate as normal, but Hadad seems to believe he has a higher calling, essentially.
Yeah, well, that was kind of my uncertainty around it all. You know, I haven't seen or heard of any functioning committees. I haven't seen or heard of anyone other than from Robert Hadad as head of the normalization committee. I haven't heard from anybody else at all, from the normalization committee in any meaningful way. So me, admittedly, looking in from the outside, I question as whether the Constitution was at all being respected, or if the need was to have that Constitution respected while the normalization committee was in place. But then you can't say things are, or you have to say things are going ahead as normal, because that's kind of how things were for the last, at least the last 2 years of the John Williams presidency. So that is par for the course. That is normal.
And was the common thread between the two regimes, administration? I don't know is the correct term to use, but the common thread there to me is that both John Williams and Mr. Hadad believe that because of FIFA's backing, they could do anything without any respect for any rule, rule of law or correct processes. I mean, how could you, a number of the decisions that they are taking, there's zero consultation with people who are on the ground, who are willing to help. I know for a fact that the Coaches Association has sent out communication to the Normalization Committee indicating to them that we are willing to help them chart a way forward. and we get the standard answer from Mr. Hadad and company. Yes, you could call us. We'll be in contact with you. You could call us. I'm only a phone call away. That phone call, I don't know where that phone call is, B-boy.
Call me anytime, Barney. Call me anytime.
Big man. Yeah. And that
yeah,
phone,
to that
comes.
point. To that point, and this is my whole thing about certainly my criticism around David John Williams, what continues to be a growing concern of mine around the normalisation committee, and even the imposition of the normalisation committee. I continue to believe that we can and we have enough talent to run our own affairs. And at the same time, listen, we have to be prepared to take chances, make mistakes, but we have to go into what we do kind of as best informed as we can, and make decisions with the greater interest of the game at hand. Now, nobody can say, as an example, that if we hire Coach X, that we're definitely going to get to our World Cup, or we're going to, fail in an alarming fashion. But if you consult with the technical committee, if you consult with other people involved in the game, and you come up with an informed decision, I think that's what people are comfortable with. People are comfortable with that. Even if it fails, at least you've done as much as you can to try to make the right decision. My big concern around what we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years is that we have a handful of people making unilateral decisions that, when they fail spectacularly, are somehow telling us that this was the right decision. Just kind of trust me. I don't feel that's the way to run our game. We have to have a level of consultation. We have to have a certain sense of professionalism about how we do things, and not this constant dictatorial, and a term I continue to use, colonial overlord approach to our football.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the players, let's start there. You would have never been in a situation like the local players, of course, because you were always, from the time you were a senior player, you were foreign based. How would you have approached this problem, though, as team captain, let's say, when you have, your local base players here, the FA is refusing to give them a stipend, and they're not being, really taken care of it, speaking about nutrition and so on. What was your view on the situation?
Listen, if I'm a captain of this national team, right, and I think you have to sit with the local players and get to understand the issue, how far they're prepared to go in terms of pressing the issue. Be it strike action, be it let's just go to the press, whatever it may be. And similarly, speak with them about the challenges and make that decision. Now, for me, the situation was always very different for me as a player. Because I was playing abroad, I was always insured. I was drawing a regular salary. So I couldn't come in and say to these players, listen, you need to do X, Y, or Z. I could suggest and say, listen, if this would have happened in England, this is what they would do. But let's hear from you as to how you think we best approach this, and take advice from them, and lean in heavily on what they want. Now, at the same time, you also have to recognize that a lot of these players may call for very strong action behind closed doors, but then when asked publicly about it, we'll say something very different. I don't have an issue with that at all. If behind closed doors, the players say, for argument's sake, if we're going to strike, we're not training up to training anymore, I have to be prepared as captain to go publicly and say that and stand by that. Even if some of the other players don't come out and say that publicly, I'm seeing it with a confidence that they aren't going to come out and say, we never tell Shaka that. But, I am not asking anybody to join me in the press in saying that. I'm making that call, as strongly as I can, knowing that this is what they wanted.
The thing about that, Shaka, is that, as you touched on there, I could fully understand current players being hesitant to come out and speak the reality of what they're experiencing. And that is why the Players Association is so crucial. Now, there is a Players Association in name, trying to walk the same path that the coaches are slightly ahead on in getting recognition at board level. But it does not look good. It cannot look good if you are positioning yourself as leadership, as leaders of this coaching fraternity, this Players Association, and players are being subjected to what the national players are being subjected to, and I can't hear you. If I, man on the street, can't hear you, how could I take on the players? If you are the representative, or you are positioning yourself as the representative for the players, how could I take you serious?
Yeah, but at the same time, though, in defense, and I understand what you're saying, but in defense of the Players Association, and I know it's an organization just trying to relaunch, they can only take guidance from the players themselves. Now, I know firsthand that players will say things, or there's a set of circumstances that you think there can only ever be one response. So for argument's sake, in this case, the only response could be we have to strike. We have to stop showing up to training. We have to stop doing this, that. We have to make these calls. But then players have individual, needs or challenges or different things that they're trying to get out of it. So you have to get advice from the players on the whole, which I know I'll say, speaking from experience, is not necessarily, what seems obvious to us looking in from the outside, is not necessarily what you get from players, even within that situation, and that will always be the challenge with a players association. And I think it's different from a coaches association, where you're talking about men who are grown, and listen, as much as we're talking about a lot of these players, they're over 18, but still they're young men in most respects.
That we could agree.
No,
I said that we could agree with. That's the key thing that we keep forgetting. That at the end of the day,
exactly. Yeah. They are young men and still trying to figure out a lot about their lives. Whereas for the coaches, you're grown men, and there's some exceptions who we won't name for the sake of this podcast.
Damn it.
But that is a challenge. That is a challenge. That is a real challenge.
I mean, the reality too, Shaka, out of the local-based players, for instance, I think Poonanjran would be the only local-based player who actually started in the last games. So they don't have that much leverage. But at the same, so without the foreign-based players, for instance, unless the foreign-based players say, we support you and we will take this particular action, I mean, how much leverage do they even have? If the coach can't, let's say, talk Hadad into accepting terms.
Yeah, but exactly. But what can the foreign-based players do now to affect this current situation before the next set of qualifiers in June, let's say, or them out of the country? There's nothing they can do or say now before they arrive back on Trinidad soil to affect the situation.
But you know what's the interesting thing while sitting here and we discussing this is the fact that we have started this conversation from a point of view of taking some sort of drastic action when open dialogue between the normalization committee and the players and the coaches would avoid us reaching to where we've reached now.
Well, on the player
I
side,
agree.
because on the player side, though, they have said that they actually met with Hadad, the local-based players, 2 or 3 times last year. Right? The thing is that he told them one thing in person and then say something else afterwards. So there's a sort of a breakdown on trust there. But they have spoken to him. They just don't trust him right now too much.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I think the situation calls for a certain level of transparency from the normalization committee about the challenges, about what they found when they came in and how difficult the situation is and how much money they have or don't have, or when money comes in, exactly where it goes. Just be painfully transparent about it all, and I think people will be more understanding for those struggles. But right now, and again, this is me. I have no insider information. This is just what I garner from the media, and it's out there in the public domain. But there's this feeling that the normalization committee was coming in with the full backing of FIFA, that they would be equipped with funds to at least satisfy day-to-day operations. They'd be satisfied with some funds around dealing with some of the debt, not all, but at least some of the debt. And so, despite what happened with William Wallace and how that went to court and how that kind of dragged things out, so it's been what, 6 months since since William Wallace dropped the court case, and the normalization committee has been reinstituted with the full mandate. And as of right now, as far as I can tell, continue to accrue debt. I'm not sure that the debt has been reduced. Now, again, maybe I have missed something. Maybe the normalization committee just hasn't been public with some of the things that they're doing behind closed doors. But for me, as a fan, as an ex-player, looking in from the outside, just somebody with an interest in Trinidad and Tobago football, I'm not sure what's improved in 6 months. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. And Barney, your experience in terms of the Coaches Association trying to get things done. First of all, you all haven't been accepted yet, so to speak, right?
Well,
explain that process in terms of getting being sanctioned or whatever it is, getting under the umbrella. You're all in the rain.
Well, we have written to the normalization committee. They have acknowledged the request. We've also had some issues with the name of the organization. As we stand right now, we are well on the way to having the association ratified. I think that is going to happen. All right. In terms of dialogue with the normalization committee, we have had meetings with them, but what I can safely say, without anybody, telling me that what I'm saying is not correct, is that when you meet with Mr. Hadad and his team, a lot is said and then a lot is changed in terms of what he believes came out of the meeting.
Give us an example now, Barney. Come on, man.
Well, we have the elephant in the room, so to speak. You agreed to pay the coaches the outstanding monies for the contracts. We agreed to take 50% up front because we understood, or it was explained to us, the situation with the debt. 50% up front, and then a letter indicating that the remaining 50% would be paid. Would be paid to the coaches.
Was there a timeline given?
Not a definitive timeline in terms of a date, but a timeline in terms of when the next tranche of FIFA funds came in, which we know has come in more than once since then.
Yeah. Well, and what was the timeline then?
That was just a couple months away from that, because we were tying up business in December, and that was going to happen
January, February then?
somewhere around there. The whole method.
You all got the letter?
Hold on, trying to go through this, and you asked me about it, and then this man just turned into my wife today, boy.
Okay.
Nobody looks. Yeah.
Tuttering along, I think you call it, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I'm getting to a point here, because we agreed to that, and then I'm hearing you out in the press saying that you've paid off all the coaches, and then, well, we have Walter Allaby, the world's greatest journalist, who runs to the press with that without coming to the coaches to find out if that is true, right? So we agreed on something else is out there. And then when you attempt to get clarification from Mr. Hadad or anybody, any of the people on the normalization committee or who's working with him, then it is a long, drawn-out process. First, it starts with, oh yeah, boy, like we make a mistake. But this is never said in public. And then nothing comes out to ratify.
This is Emil then, the General Secretary.
And then nothing comes out to ratify this, right? And it remains in as far as the public is concerned, the coaches were paid. That is being dishonest. And you try to go into this thing with goodwill, because at the end of the day, you have Trinidad and Tobago first. You want to see our football head in the right direction. But then when you're dealing with persons who are not being genuine, it is very difficult to stay the course.
In all honesty, I think, listen, I as well, I believe in giving everybody every single chance to prove their value, to prove their worth, to lose my trust in them. And that being said, the pandemic has thrown up a situation here in terms of our football and its administration that there's no blueprint to. There's no example that we can call on, and I think it's made things far more difficult than anybody anticipated. So I'm giving the normalization committee an out here, and I hope they take it, because again, for me, painful transparency is what's needed. If some of these feelings, even if it's just a feeling of fan expectation, given what we expected once the normalization committee was put in place, once FIFA threw their weight behind who they chose to run our football, even if that was just an expectation that maybe wasn't grounded in too much reality, but just come out and say that, and come out and say, this is where we are because of the pandemic. These are the struggles that we're having. I really do feel people will respond to that a whole lot better, because this really is unprecedented in so many ways. But the kind of the quiet, the vacuum of information that's coming our way is just leaving people with a void that we can't fill with anything but mistrust. And as a result, the normalization committee are creating more problems for themselves. But that's their doing. That's not on us, the casual football fan, to be eternally optimistic when nobody gives us anything to be optimistic about.
Mm-hmm. How comparable is this the situations you've been in terms of, the team has two very, very important World Cup qualifiers in early June, right? Right now, even the senior team coaches seem to be up in arms with the normalization committee. Within a few weeks, the committee has to start booking flights and making preparations and so on for the next game. Is there a chance for this siege mentality thing that we always hear about to kind of kick in here and galvanize the team? Have you been in situations like that?
Not quite like this, for all the reasons that I just mentioned. I think there's always an opportunity for a siege mentality. The challenge then becomes if the players, feel that the coach is in it with them. If they truly believe that that he is suffering, he has their backs, he has their best interests in the way that they need, and in the way that they will respond to. Now, I'm not in that dressing room. I cannot answer that question. It comes on to Terry Fenwick, his relationship with that dressing room, what he says in that dressing room, what he says in the hotel, away from the training ground. That would be the measure. But there's always an opportunity to employ that siege mentality. Yes.
What do you think, Barney, as a coach? For instance, we know Molino missed the last match window. Wasn't a serious injury, they said, but it was an injury. All the same, we know Sean Powder pulled out with a little injury, juvenile and niggle. These guys now have to consider, do we come back to play for our national team in these circumstances and as a World Cup qualifier? What do you think as coach? How do you deal with that?
Well, in the cases that you identified there, I'm not so sure. You're asking me how I deal with that as a coach in terms of encouraging them to come back.
Encouraging them to come back in this climate.
That's going to be tough because what are they coming back to? They outside, they have friends here, they have family here, they're hearing what's going on, they're seeing what's going on. What are they coming back to?
Your only card is a World Cup qualifier.
Well,
series, right?
okay, but if I am, for example, Noah Powder, or if I am Jovan Jones, who I've just moved to a new team, I'm now struggling.
Molino moved to a new team as well.
Right, yeah. So I'm struggling for a starting spot, or I have to, stamp my authority on my spot. And I want to come home and play for my country. I want to go to a World Cup, but my country is disorganized. Doesn't look like if they have their business together. What do I do? I wouldn't like to be Terry Fenwick right now. Honestly, I don't know. I do not know how you put a brave face on it and you talk to the players if you do not genuinely believe that everything is okay. But he has to do that because at the end of the day, the game is going to be played and he has to carry a team and it is his reputation as well. So he has to find a way, but it's not going to be easy. If what I am hearing is coming out of the camp now, and we're talking about the foreign players, but the local players here, if I'm hearing what's coming out of the camp now, it is not an easy environment to be in. So I really don't know.
Shaka, by any chance, you caught any of Barney's Bible?
I caught one of the episodes, yes.
What you thought?
I honestly didn't know that Barney could read or write. I was impressed. I was impressed just as I started there.
I don't know now.
Take a credit now, Barney. Take a credit now.
That's not credit.
The man complimented you. You can't take a compliment.
The man passed for his second choice. I'm going to tell you this. Come on.
The one that I caught was talking about the need for rest and the year long and just the constant playing. And why I was particularly interested in that one was because of a discussion we had about player development when I first appeared on this podcast. Listen, I tried my best to stay middle of the road here. I thought that was very well written and well put. The need for rest, and how, for instance, when we were growing up, we kind of balanced it by participating in other sports. That was very true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gap between our football and the rest of the world, you know, looking at it from when you were a young player, international player, or just, you know, to now, what do you think? Well, I suppose it's kind of easy to say what direction we headed in, but how do we really, what do I say, but how do you describe the gap now as compared to when you were a young boy?
Well, it's growing, and to your point, I don't think we head in any direction. We've stagnated. We've stagnated for a very long time, and the trouble is everybody else is moving forward, and this is a point, you know, I've kind of made for a very long time. When you're a country like Trinidad and Tobago, when you're as small as we are, with as small a players pool as we have to do things better than everybody else in terms of keeping our talent, providing opportunities for players to grow, for players to just play. We cannot take the UK or the US or the German approach that this is how it has to be done. You have professional setup and you have to come through an academy and because they could afford to lose players. They could afford for talented players to slip through the cracks because they don't mature soon enough, or because they want to give themselves the safety net of an academic background. We can't. You know, we simply can't. If there's a player who's talented enough, but wants to pursue a university degree, we have to provide an opportunity for him to do that and still come back and contribute in our football. If we have a talented player who's quite not sure that he wants to play football full time, and you know, at 16 he didn't really decide what his future will hold, we have to provide that opportunity for him to, you know, play minor league or whatever it may be, or just focus on secondary schools football. I'll still keep tabs of him or her after they've graduated high school. You know, or similarly, if somebody just isn't academically inclined and but talented, how can we, you know, continue to keep that player in our fold, find employment for them, so again they don't fall through the cracks and find themselves in some kind of illegal activity. You know, we just have to be so much better at what we do, and we're not, and we haven't been. We have just our cliche that we use in so many aspects of our life, not just football, is, boy, this is how we always do it. You know, as though that is supposed to be good enough. This is how we've always done it. Has only
not even true anymore.
Well, exactly. That all it's provided for us is stagnation. While everybody else continues to do things better, while they continue to leverage technology and learn and get better at their craft, we just still doing, you know, boy, this is how we always do it, as though that is going to solve any of our issues.
Yeah, while you're talking there, just running across my mind is the number of talented players who just falling into all the categories that you touched on. What's Papi's name?
Oh, Tyrell Emmanuel.
What is he doing now?
He was at Point Fortin Civic before the pandemic. God knows since. It's over a year without football now.
Was he one of the players called to train with the national senior team? He was called back then. I'm talking about now.
No.
In this pool, no. Right?
No.
So then we lost them. It's easy to see. Right? We have had players like Gory and Hailey in the past who could have been world beaters. We are just losing players. And the amazing thing, when I was doing the research for the articles, because that's what we professional writers do, we do research, right? When I was doing the research for the articles, I saw something that a Belgian coach said, in that they can't afford to lose one player. That's the attitude that they take. Belgium is approximately 11 point something million people. We are 1.4. And we throwing players away left, right, and center.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Riley. Can't remember his first name.
That's Enzo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Kareem, I think.
Kareem Riley. Kareem Riley. I don't care what anybody say. Is supposed to be on this national team right now. Right? I don't even think we are. Well, let me just say that. I'm not sure if he was invited.
Didn't he train, right? At one point.
That's early in the piece.
Yeah.
When he was here on holidays and joined the training session. But if we're going about this thing in a systematic matter, a systematic way, the amount of players that we've had who have gone away on scholarship and have abandoned the game from my days and coming forward.
Or have been abandoned by the game.
Well, yeah. We have had so many players who have represented the country up to national under 23 level and just stopped playing. Ivan Sampson. Ivan Sampson played for every national team, every youth group coming up, and then disappeared.
Well, I mean, Marty and Watson might have been a nice ball playing central defender to have right now.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to know how they're doing, but I understand the point though. You keep them involved.
No, I don't agree with that at all. It's not hard. This is the modern world. There's something called the internet. There's communication. You could, if you're interested in these players, you could keep tabs on all of these players. It is not hard. You know the schools that they came from. So Riley came from Presentation. I am sure you could find out which school he is attending in the States and you could get in contact with him. It's not hard. We just do not care. We do not care because we're not really in this football thing to get better. We're in this football thing for that little money that FIFA sending, whatever time of the year, and that is it. That is it. We just slightly better than St. Lucia, you know. St. Lucia.
That pulled out of the whole thing.
We just slightly better than them right now, you know. We had a man running football here who decided that we're going to have an under 15 team and a senior team on the men's side. We're going to have an under 15 team on the girls' side and a senior women's team. What development plan is that? Which country he sat down and watched that and said, that is the way to go? And you know the sad thing about it? There are people who are supposed to know better, who came through in the 80s when we had a clear path to the senior team through all the national teams. There are players who came through that who I am hearing patting John Williams on his back for that nonsense. That's sad. That is sad. Our 2006 World Cup team is remnant. Our 1989 Soca Warriors team. The Strike Squad. Sorry. Go back and look at that team and look at the composition of that team. There's a number of youth teams that was coming up there. And then you had Russell and Dwight added to that. Clayton and all of they were youth team players coming up the ranks. Look at the 2006 team. That was the generation that held on from the 80s at U16 level. And, you know, some of the other guys in between that were coming through. So what are we going to do now? We see that. We've gotten so close with that. We've qualified with one, gotten close with the other one, and we say, you know what? Nah. We have a U15, nothing in between, and a senior team. Utter nonsense. Which country doing that?
Well, the association was into buildings and construction and so on, from what we saw.
Well, even if you touch on that, right? Even if you touch on that.
I didn't say good buildings there, by the way.
No.
If you go in there.
No. But even if you touch on that and say, you know what, we want to model this thing behind St. George's Park or Clairefontaine or whatever. It's not the building that produced Sterling and all of these players.
Correct.
It's not the building that did it. It is the structure that, it is all the layers that went before that and with that. And we just, again, it is okay for somebody to come and attempt to be a smart man. That is all right. That happens all the time. What gets me is when people who are supposed to know better, who came out of the system, are backing that nonsense. That.
I almost got to ask if Clairefontaine is a wellness center. They're holding COVID patients.
Oh, gosh. Boy. Just getting harder and harder.
Boy.
Shaka, what football are you looking forward to this weekend, boy?
Don't answer that. This is a movie. That's a trap.
I should have a big game or two this weekend, Shaka. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Liverpool.
I'm going out to New York to see my son play. That is the only football I'm looking forward to.
Diplomatic answer.
Who they playing this weekend?
BWG, whoever that is.
Okay. All right.
I can tell you who else playing this weekend, Shaka.
I know. You want me to tell him?
Hmm?
You want me to tell him?
Manchester United versus Liverpool.
Real Madrid is playing Osasuna this weekend. That's what he wants to tell you.
You called a tremendous game on Thursday, Shaka. Manchester Roma. That was a treat. What you thought? Your thoughts as an analyst? Late on me.
About Manchester United Roma?
That's 6-2, that semi-final. Extraordinary. What are your thoughts? Apart from extraordinary.
I feel like I can make Roma start the 11 now. as a left-sided overlapping wing back with no left foot who don't like to run. That's what I thought. That was my big takeaway. Listen, don't be calling me up here trying to get cheap thrills over money, right? I realize your thrills getting harder and harder to come by these days.
All I know is we have our eye on the European Super Cup. The big trophy.
Okay.
Maybe
Google images. Google images.
Man say Google images.
Maybe we might beat Real Madrid there. Who knows?
I doubt that. This
not everybody could be in a European Super Cup.
Lord.
Well, no top team could ever be in a European Super Cup. coming the route that all they come from, which is from the Champions League second division. That's all they winning. Or they tried to win the Champions League second division. Nah, big teams don't play down there.
They have 3 European trophies, and the big one is the European Super Cup. We plan to be the runner, right? Is what I'm saying.
You know, up until I really take in Lasana with Manchester United, I thought he was a even keel kind of guy, you know. But no, I'm being serious here. The man cannot be objective once Manchester United or Manchester City or Pep Guardiola is any question. Shaka, you know this as a fact. You know this as a fact. The man goes off his rocker because yesterday, Trinidad, I shared a video of a young Brazilian player that Man City has purchased. The boy, I'm not sure how they pronounce his name. I think it's Keiki. I want everybody to go and look at this fella. Left-footed, the boy is a monster. Right? Shared it with Lasana. And Lasana's response was, and this is because they have the boy in our Manchester City kit on the in the video, right? At the start of the video. And Lasana's response is, how many young players is going to this going to make it big? He wouldn't even look at the video to look at the boy. You know?
I can always be impartial in football, no matter who's involved. And in fact, I'll prove that by saying that Manchester could have done even better against Roma, for instance. So shows what you know, buddy.
Yeah,
shows
true.
what you know.
True.
You know, I listened to earlier, and I think that just dawned on me. I really want to know too early when they get old, boy. Because if there's the kind of conversations always be having when all they're still relatively young, I lied. All they could be the 2 worst old man ever, boy. All they could be 2 horrible old man, boy.
No, I don't agree with that. That would be very cool. once an hour on Barcelona fans. I'll be very good.
Oh, God.
I know Sheppy and here he was relatively young and Barney in the same sentence about 30 years. So you make Barney die right now.
You're here for 30 more years too.
Anyway, Shaka, thanks for coming on and giving us some perspective really in terms of the player side. I guess good luck to the Soca Warriors themselves.
You guess? Agree media or not?
Okay, definitely good luck to the Soca Warriors and they need it.
What's the next game?
The next game is away to the Bahamas.
All right. So what's the next game after that?
St. Kitts.
That's the
Should be at home, but I mean we know that the chances
it won't be home.
Are slim to none. Mm-hmm. So probably back in the Dominican Republic if they move quickly. And all to play in that game.
When you say if they move quickly, so what you're saying they haven't put that as a safety net.
They have been speaking about the last we heard from them, they're talking about trying to get the game at home. Well, right. I think which is a non-starter.
No, but I understand you want to have the game at home. Mm-hmm. But what was the mitigation plan?
Well, they had a book a field.
All right. But so as a reporter, you didn't get any information on that?
I haven't gotten any information on that just yet. Yeah. I think I have a better chance of finding out Rihanna's plans for next week.
No, but how you just draw these examples, though? You can't stay within football. You can't go. Jeez, boy. No, but seriously.
I had my Wednesday free, so I didn't know what Rihanna was up to. But go ahead.
And I laugh at that. No, but on a very serious note, and Shaka cannot leave us yet. I don't remember something else. We need to talk about the female coach, the women's coach announcement and everything. But before that, we have a World Cup qualifier, a game that is most likely going to decide whether or not we go to the next round. Mm-hmm. And what you're trying to tell me here is that we may not have already put things in place just in case we don't get this game at all.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You see what I was talking about when I tell all we ain't serious? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We cannot be serious. We cannot be serious.
Well, you remember for the last round, we got the draw, I think, since about August.
All right. No, but hear me. And I'm going into the Shaka mode now, which is I giving everybody a chance. Mm-hmm. You didn't have a clue what you was doing, right? So you stumbled.
I think that's fair to say.
So you stumbled through that. But now you know. And you still, what are you saying? You still have not put things in place?
Well, now you know that you don't have a clue, but the problem is you still don't have a clue.
Nah, man, you just get grounds last time, so you know. you know how you get the grounds. I not believe in that. I'm not believing that. I think that the grounds and you know what? Lasana is a responsible journalist. You're supposed to bring that information to Trinidad by, contacting whoever and finding out if Trinidad has already booked. Because that game not playing here. That game not playing here. Unless, or they make Gary Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago sometime in between.
Okay, here what I'll do.
You'll do journalistic work?
I will do some journalistic work. I will contact.
By the way, Trinidad, he has on a matte polo tonight. Mind you, that same organization threw him under the bus when he get banned from press conferences.
I don't hold grudges. Actually, I didn't get banned. Somebody get banned. I didn't get banned.
Big man, And right, oh yes, it was a small space. All right, you didn't get
Oh
banned.
yeah,
Sorry,
that's true. That's true.
No. Look, all you heard it at Trinidad. All you heard it. You didn't get banned, son. Look, you stand a drink from the Kool-Aid.
I was too big from the Piaco lounge.
You stand a drink from the Kool-Aid too. You didn't get banned, right?
But
the space was too small for you.
Yeah, but I will contact the TTFA to find out.
TTFA don't exist.
Well, the normalisation committee
all right.
to find out the plans for the next World Cup qualifiers, and I'll also contact Rihanna to find out a schedule, and I will let the public know which one got back to be first.
Shaka, stop laughing. You're encouraging him in nonsense because it's a serious thing. I thought you was going to say.
I might actually get a response from Rihanna.
Oh, shut up now.
Don't rule him out, It might be no, but I might get a response.
I thought you were going to say that you would contact the Dominican Republic.
Well, usually people wouldn't pass on matters at IFA to FA. I could ask all the same.
Well, all right. Well, good. Yeah, well, you're a customer getting no answers, so try them. Try them.
Yeah.
You're just getting Spanish. You're just getting Spanish as well. Mm-hmm. My issue here is this, though. Even if they were selected by a knowledgeable group or whatever, the point of the matter is that these people have to be housed.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be provided transport. All of these things are still adding debt. And you have capable persons here, like Mr. Hood, who could have done the same job. Even if at the end of the day you're saying, look, Richard, we hiring you in this position to deal with this team for this situation, short-term contract, whatever. But I cannot understand the thought process behind not, you have a debt to local coaches, you're not seeing that. And then you're hiring a number of foreign coaches. It leaves people to interpret this thing along different lines. I've been hearing a number of things that I don't want to go into for the reasons why these people were picked.
Yep.
The optics are not good.
I would say this though, Shaka. After Barney pointed out my mat logo, I'm waiting to see if when they announce the local coaches on that Mr. James Thomas's backroom squad, if I don't see some national football coaches members who's still waiting for the money from last year in that squad, while starting a new job on the TTFA while they're waiting for the money from the last job on the TTFA.
Nah, they were.
Yeah.
Hold on. So I understand what you said. You're expecting to see people.
But I'm looking to see if people gonna accept coaches, gonna accept appointments for the TTFA while waiting for money from the TTFA, with they don't even know when they're gonna be paid for the last job that they work for the TTFA. So I'm waiting to see.
Good point. Mm-hmm. And.
But the hope is, listen, the hope is with that is if this foreign coach comes in, he's going to get paid. And if as part of his backroom staff, you say to him, listen, I haven't been paid, the hope is that he would go to bat for his backroom staff. That's a hope. I would think that's a hope. So if, again, just kind of as a precursor in defending a local coach who maybe is owed money and decides to take up a position, that might be the thinking going into it.
There's this funny thing that FIFA does, as you mentioned it, right? When you're owed money by an association, you can go to FIFA.
If you're a foreign coach.
If you're a foreign coach, right? And what they will do is that they will simply, out of the Trinidad's allocation, they will deduct your money. And you get paid. As simple as that. So take a situation like Dennis Lawrence, head coach, Stuart Charles, assistant coach. Stuart Charles living in Trinidad for about as long as Dennis Lawrence was born. Dennis Lawrence living away since about maybe 2000. So that's about 20 years.
Yeah.
FIFA considered Stuart Charles a foreign coach and paid him directly from the allocation and consider Dennis Lawrence a local coach, and Dennis has to go to the local court and line up behind everybody else.
Right.
So even a situation with the Welsh coach, because of his passport, in a sense, he getting paid.
He guaranteed his money.
He guaranteed his money no matter what. He mightn't get paid while he in Trinidad working here, but he will get his money eventually.
But even before that, if you owe me money and you didn't pay me, but then you come and you hire me for a next job, am I supposed to trust that you're going to pay me the second time? I could only talk for me, but that was not happening. It was not happening for me. But I know I won't have to I would have to worry about that sort of thing, because I not seen a national team. No time. So I don't have that sort of headache or deliberation to go through. But
Barney Nathan Hadad's on my 5 list or whatever you call it, my lime list.
I used it. I feel we good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I suppose it's an interesting point that Lasana brought up. I didn't think about that, so I'll wait to see. I think I know I've heard some names bandied about as being added to the to whoever was getting the job. There was another coach who apparently was offered the job before. Her name escapes me.
Laidlow. I think it's
Judy Laidlaw or something like that.
Janet
right?
or something.
Ludlow or something like that. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, but
that's not her name.
Another Welsh coach, I believe.
Yeah. She was actually a head coach, whereas this boy is an assistant. So they probably worked their way down a little bit.
Boy,
right.
Yeah, so she was going to get a job, and I was hearing that there were a number of coaches who were going to be added. A couple of them I was very happy for, because I thought that, it was about time that they got an opportunity, but I would have hoped that they would be getting this opportunity on the back of having whatever outstanding monies from their past contract settled already.
Now, to be fair to Hadad, is a juggle, because they have to address past debt, but also keep the business running, right? What would your priority be, Shaka? Because let's say, do you cut back in terms of your national senior squad expense, in terms of maybe getting a coach that's a little bit less expensive to spend more in grassroots or coach education? How do you make that juggle?
But before you do any of that, before you even do any of that, when you make a decision on what you're going to do, you need to communicate it.
Yeah, this is true.
You need to communicate it. And the problem, whatever they're doing may be wrong, but the problem is that nobody knows what they are doing.
Yeah, what the thinking behind this thing is.
And if you were to operate above the board openly, so that everybody could scrutinize what you're doing, then you would find that you would have people trying to help. You understand? But instead, you are not doing that, and then boom, things just happen. And things that don't make any sense to people who are invested in it but have no information.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the salaries, I would say this probably started with the last administration, in terms of the salary paid to Fenwick, right? Because if we accept that we really kind of thin at the top now, we're no longer able to step on the field with any kind of confidence that we used to have. In other words, there's a very slim chance that we could qualify for World Cups at this point within the next couple of years. Do we then spend less there and try to spend more in other areas of football in terms of development, essentially? And I had to say that that's what I would have been thinking. So in terms of saying, because at the time they were saying that Fenwick was salary matched Dennis Lawrence's salary, which he was promised, of course, but didn't get. Fenwick insisted on a salary that was more than what Dennis Lawrence was getting. But my thinking is at that point in time, we should probably be paying a coach a bit less and try to spend more in other areas. Well, what do you think about?
I agree. I think the biggest challenge, the biggest anchor in our football right now is the debt, and we have to do all we can to reduce that debt, while still trying to put out a viable product on the field. But we cannot go chasing the dream in the hope that the dream somehow raises enough money to satisfy the debt. We have to actively do that. I mean, but also to that point is what's the remit of the normalization committee in terms of the administration of football. What has FIFA asked them to come in to do? Has FIFA asked them to come in and have all our teams challenge, if not qualify, at the very least challenge for qualification in the World Cup? Or did FIFA ask them to come in and steady what they felt was a rocky boat? I kind of feel it was the latter, and if that is right, then you have to start reducing the debt, start getting your management structure in place. These are the type of things that normalization committees should be doing, not looking abroad for coaches to bring in, which we could do right here. That adds to the red of our bottom line.
I just don't see a plan. I don't see a vision. I don't see a roadmap. I don't see anything. Even if it is to deal with the debt, then that should have some logical approach to it. From sitting down on the outside, because that is where I've been put. And that is where all the coaches have been put. All the real stakeholders in the game have been put on the outside. Looking in with no information, there is no plan. If there is a plan, then please communicate that to us. And I'm sure that there are areas where we can help. We went into discussions with the normalization committee. I remember that very first meeting. We went into discussions with the normalization committee, we being the coaches, with all intentions of giving them the support needed to go forward. Because at the end of the day, it was Trinidad and Tobago's football.
That was the same meeting when a coach asked to sample Mr. Hadad's ice cream?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was, and probably I should have too. I may have got my contract renewed. Right? So, again, the people...
I can see you thinking about the man ice cream right now.
No. Intelligent people are not afraid of intelligence. And you're not afraid to say that you don't know. Real leaders are not afraid to not know. They surround themselves with the persons who know, and they know how to use them to get the job done. And I have a distinct feeling from the leadership of the normalization committee in that there's a fear that they would be found out in what they're saying. There's a fear to openly discuss because you may not be the brightest.
You mean if they are really intelligent people? Well, in that sense, I credit Barney, of course, because obviously share the room with a very intelligent
Corey going outside. It's just you here. Corey going outside.
Credit to Barney. Shaka, thanks again for coming on tonight. We assume we didn't really have anything planned on Friday night. I don't know. Is the pandemic? Were we correct?
Yeah.
Shaka,
it's been a long time since I've planned anything for a Friday, pandemic or not.
Shaka, seen where this going. Be careful. Be careful. We going back in where we started. I see it happening.
We ain't going outside.
You see what I mean?
So Shaka, thanks for coming on again. And you do have a good weekend.
Me, Mr. Library and Mr. Shepherd.
Hope the little fella game goes well, and they are as successful as Manchester United against Liverpool.
Shaka, his players are 9 or what?
He's playing up front anywhere. He's been playing. He's been playing as a 9 last couple of weeks because the usual number 9 is injured. But normally he starts on the left wing.
And he's left-footed.
He's right-footed.
He's right-footed. All right, the blue-weighted 4-3-3.
Yes.
All right.
Man, living Shaka dream boy up front.
Yeah. Watch now. He feel he was a striker. I think.
I was a born striker. I was made into a goalkeeper.
He used to beg to go and kick like when the country squad and thing, practicing and thing, penalties. My boy trotted up from and he go for thing. And him there, I'm going to kick a bell off.
Everybody used to go for water.
I was a born striker. I maintain, despite what Mr. Shepherd may say. I was a born striker.
Might have taken some time for him to reach the other penalty area. You used to go for drinks or something, buddy.
Nah, when it had penalty, he used to pick up the pace. He used to pick up the pace. Watch the boy wasn't good at all. The boy wasn't good at all. He was wild. He's not a play with the back is yours. Go by the goal.
I'll call Latas for you.
The man almost didn't show for the last podcast, you know, Shaka.
I see that.
Talking about traffic. I see no traffic.
You want to say that traffic on the driveway, yes? I bumped up some traffic on my driveway.
Hey, it's a good thing. You know, I real happy Russell don't have your kind of stupid mentality. It could have been awkward.
Yeah. Russell gave one job shoulder early and how was it? Didn't play around with him too much.
Russell abused you enough. For one lifetime.
I could safely say Russell Latapi never dribbled me in his life. You know why? Because I too bright for that, brother. I see the man on the next side of the field killing off people. I going over there.
Man, I can't see your face when you say that, boy.
What's that? Russell Latapi never dribbled me in his life. Same way I could say Ian Bishop never out me in his life.
But you know what? Since we're on a roll, Steve Gerrard never scored me in his life. Man.
No, that is a lie. I have video. I have video.
Since we are this kind of a roll.
No. I have video. About 2 weeks ago, I sat down eating lunch, right? On the sofa home. And boom, what comes up on the telly? Matthew Letizier's finest moments.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Shaka was involved?
If Shaka was more than once.
They could have just changed that title and to Shaka Hislop's worst moment and run the same video.
Watch that.
Run the exact same video.
I don't think it's 3. It's 2 for sure. 2 classics the man scored him. And you know the real funny moment is? You gotta go and look it up. The abuse Shaka carrying out on a piece of chewing gum. After the goal score, my boy sit down.
So, the Shaka's credit, I remember interviewing a coach who said that Shaka was such an imposing figure that he forced these players to have to really find the top corner. Mm-hmm. To the credit of those players, they found it.
Yes, that's right.
Matthew did.
That's right.
Let's see, it did not look too hard. Trust me.
I wasn't wrapping up this podcast. I said you're wrapping this up.
Well, when we could find these moments, and you want to talk to me about Russell,
wrap this up. Just edit out Barney, right? Just edit out Barney for me, please.
Shaka, thanks again, partner. We'll see you again on the Burdie and
You're
Barney.
welcome. Good talk. Yeah.
Hold on. Just last thing before you go. You know there's just audio, right? We don't see anybody, right? You don't know that, right? The man say, we'll see you again.
Later, Shaka.
Watch. For my third appearance, I want Barney to come on.
Wait,
You be the Burdie podcast.
wait, on the outside.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Never mind. Never mind. Yeah, boy.
I'm
gonna be too.
I know you don't think it over.
Sure. It could just be me and the producer.
All right, brother.
All right, Shaka.
Take it easy.
Later.
So, Barney, you have any closing words?
My problem in this whole thing is that there are players who are traveling long distances to represent the country. They are being denied because of the pandemic. They can't ply their trade anywhere else. There's no club football. They're being asked to come and train with the national team with very little chance of being selected. They can't go and work anywhere else because at the end of the day, they're chasing their dreams. They want to represent their country. And they cannot get... no, you tell me you did not budget to give them a stipend. And the thing about it is, I don't think all of these players are lying. Mm-hmm. So apparently in a meeting, you told them that they were getting a stipend. Something wrong with that. And if people have a problem with people like me pointing out that something wrong with that, something wrong with all you too. It's humans you're dealing with. You cannot operate like that. You cannot operate like that. And I don't care who you are, how big you feel you are being disingenuous. Mm. So,
well, this week, of course, we had that tragic news with Clyde Leon that we didn't mention. Mm-hmm. Let me also say though, that Clyde Leon is one of the coaches being owed. Mm-hmm. And I'll also say that Tiba McKnight, who also passed away last year, yes. Tiba McKnight is owed $30,000 still, which his family, I'm sure, could deal with. Everybody could deal with a little bit of money in the pandemic. Clyde Leon, well, I don't know if you want to call it figure, but he's also owed at least 3 months.
3 months?
And that's if he wasn't owed before with the under 17 team or whatever it was. Would it have been 3 months salary that have been owed from last year?
Why is it 3 months?
Was it like a 6 months contract? How was the situation with you all? Because I know they paid for 3 and they said that was half, right?
My contract was for 8 months.
8 months. Oh, okay. So, but you all
for 7 months.
For 7 months. Okay. So, again, I assume the Coaches Association would say, I mean, come on, people have something they could really do with this funds, I'd assume. What are your thoughts, though, Barney?
No, well, firstly, Clyde's passing was something that was really tragic. I didn't know Clyde long. I actually met Clyde in person. I'm talking about in person. I met Clyde in person at the technical meeting that was held for the national coaches. He came up to me, introduced himself. We started talking, and we hit it off from there. And as I said, in talking with him on the phone after, or when I see him, and we talk about football, we talk about other things, his plans, what he wanted to do, where he could see the game going, those sort of things, you always got the feeling that you were in the company of somebody who was genuine, who was good. I only knew the man 14 months, and when I got the news, I was on my sofa, got up the morning, got the news, and was crying like a baby. And that's the kind of impact that Clyde had on I want to believe everybody we came in contact with. He was a genuine person, a good person. And my condolences go out to his family. I don't know them. But to his parents, his family who helped raise and shape that young man, you all had to be good people too, because Clyde was all goodness. That's what I would say. As it relates to the Coaches Association and the money's outstanding for coaches, Clyde, you touch on Tiba McKnight as well. A man is as good as his word. A man is as good as his word. Mr. Robert Hadad sat down and said that he was going to honor the contract. We met him halfway and agreed to take half of the money and get the balance after. In whatever circle Mr. Hadad operates, if they think that he's doing a good and a genuine and an honest job, I am here to tell you that that's not true. Until he honors what he said, then that is not true. So I am saying that. This is me, Wayne Shepherd, as a coach. All right? I pick up the papers and I read, and the players are saying something similar too. So everybody's lying. And everybody's coming up with the same experience. Something wrong there. Something is wrong there.
And what I will say as well to the loved ones and the parents and the so on of the significant others, people involved in this industry. It's sad that football, I can speak for football definitely, probably the same for other sports, but treated like a hustle at this point in the country. Like, picking mangoes or something like that. It seems as if there isn't much more dignity to the thing when somebody could be owed, when coaches and players could be owed money for months and years and so on, in case of people like Anton Cornell and Kendall Walks and Stephen Hart and people who accept that job, and people who hire them must know the salary wasn't forced on you. Well, I mean, we could speak for most coaches anyway. The salary wouldn't be forced on the TTFA. It was agreed upon, and then not be able to honor it. I mean, I worked in Britain for a few years, and someone like Clyde Leon, I think could have done championship level. At the least English League One as a player. As a coach, if you had a British passport, there'd have been loads of academies and clubs and so on that would certainly, he'd have been able to find employment or so. So in other words, the same Clyde Leon that we have here, who had to be, while being owed money from the TTFA, had to be looking around, scratching his head to see how he'll make $1 to take care of his family and so on, would not have been treated anyway like this in a different environment. And for sure, our goal has to be to treat our players in the way they deserve, and our coaches in the way they deserve to be treated. And here's the funny thing as well. We always ask our players to mimic what we see in a Champions League game on a Wednesday, or of course a Europa League on a Thursday. We ask our players and so on to mimic. We gauge our coaches, we compare them with the best. And if they don't match whoever it is at the US Soccer Federation bench coming up against or so on, we say they ain't good. What about our administrators? Who do we compare them to? What's the yardstick for them? Or is it that we're happy only to have competent players and coaches and the administrators could do whatever they want? So let's think about that, Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of what we want our football to be. And we cannot only be asking for a certain level of effort and expertise from the players and the coaches and no else.
But we have been happy with administrators doing as they want.
Mm-hmm. Well,
people don't understand that what goes on the field is a reflection of the planning that takes place off the field. And there's not just the technical planning. There's the planning. For any athlete to perform at his best, any sport, he has to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Usain Bolt to go and run 9.58 wondering where his next meal coming from, or wondering if he could pay his car loan or his rent or anything like that. No. He only has to worry about training to be his best. We have young men who we ask to come and train with the national team, coming from as far as Maruga, who are not employed because there's no football. We want them to come. So they have to find money to get their way to training. And then we just, it's a kind of flippant approach to...
They don't have to have a sandwich for them after the session. Depends on what's going on in the police headquarters at that point in time.
And it's a flippant approach to promises you made. To agreements, not promises. I'm going to make it sound like, to agreements you all had. No. I can't go along with that. Mm-hmm. I cannot go along with that.
And players yourselves, I think everybody at Hadco this week, when they turn up for work, they know what they're going and get. Because there was an agreement in place and so on. And I think athletes and so on need to also respect themselves, because there's not a person in Hadco turning up to see what might happen or to see what the boss might decide to give me. So it goes on the other side as well. Respect yourself, guys and girls, and let's move the thing forward.
Not athletes alone. The coaches need to respect themselves.
Coaches as
too.
well, yeah.
Because when this started, when this situation started, there were coaches who, I ain't going to call no names, but there were coaches who I had to wonder about them.
They wanted some ice cream.
I'm talking about local coaches. Right? Now, the thing about it is, and the problem that Mr. Hadad and the rest of the normalization committee has run into here is that normally in Trinidad and Tobago, there's always a job that you could slip somebody in football. When people make a stand, there's always somebody who's going to take up that job. There aren't any jobs right now. The pandemic has seen to that. So everybody has come together for once. Mm-hmm. Let us try and do the right thing so that we can move the football forward. Please, you need to respect the coaches. You need to respect the players. Without them, there is no football. So I don't know who are these people patting themselves on the back and feel that they're bigger than everybody else. Humility is required for us to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that brings us to the end of the podcast tonight. One place where there will be football is Old Trafford. There's a lot of great football happening these days. Glory.
No, sure. Corey, you're editing that. Not here. Not that glory nonsense here. Not here.
This is Burdie.
Hold on, let me come to our agreement here. Not here. I wanted to say it. Don't.
We're speaking about good football here.
Hold on. Where's the last trophy?
This is Burdie.
This is Barney.
And this is the Burdie and Barney Show. See you guys in 2 weeks.
We're not seeing anybody, pal.
Okay. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Lose control. Yeah.
Oh, so sing again now, please.
We are at the bloopers.
Yeah, let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you.
Nice. Shaka, we are here recorded, then you're going to be dancing.
John Legend, jealous me tunes right now, dog.
But it's not John Legend.
I am Legend, not John Legend.
Let's skip a line ahead for dictation. That's how the man was singing. Hey, boy.
All right. Let's call it out there now. This is Burdie.
To say that like I wasn't sure, boy.
He said that like he tried to convince people. This is Barney.
We gotta do what the whole damn thing.
But all right, we'll go from something.
This is Burdie. And this is the Burdie and Barney Show.
People like it cause you know we gon' let this year cause it's too much war amongst the stars. War amongst the stars. War amongst the stars. War amongst the stars. Hey, imagine some of them saying there is a virgin but go doctor from promoter them the way you come to foreign.